Welcome, everyone. We have some other folks who will be joining us, but let's sit together for about 15 minutes until 15 minutes to the hour. And please, if you will, sit upright, align your shoulders with your ears and with your hips. Take some deep breaths and then settle into regular breathing. And know that you are already everything you need and you're connected with everything in the universe.
Let's say the robe chant together. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Well, thank you so much to everyone for being here today. And I'm going to that's what I want to do. Put it on gallery for me. I particularly want to thank Maria, who has already pulled me out of the fire already, at least once so far. And thank you, Maria, for hosting this and for watching over the technical aspects of it and for all the things you do so much. For any newcomers, let me say I'm Joel Barna. I'm one of the first cohort of entrusted teachers in the extended Appamada family, along with Todd Bankler and Laurie Winnett in Texas, Josh Gifford in the UK, and Suzanne Kilkus in Wisconsin. And I want to say that I'm delighted and intimidated and delighted to say that Peg Syverson and Josh are with us today. I'm seeing them on the screen. And Peg being, of course, one of our guiding teachers with Flint Sparks, who could not be here today. Laurie was in the teacher seat last week, working with the people who came forward for a reflection on freedom and open-heartedness that I found very moving. If you haven't heard it, or the inquiries led by Todd, Suzanne, Josh, or Flint, please check out the recordings on YouTube or on SoundCloud. Starting with Peg and Flint, Appamada's presence on the web is an immense treasure house because of what they offer and so many, along with so many others, and because of this project of open public inquiry into the Dharma. Speaking of that public presence, just a reminder, as you saw or heard when you connected today on the Appamada calendar page, there's a notification that this is a recorded meeting and it will be posted on YouTube and SoundCloud. And if you have any concerns about that, if anything that your presence on that you say or that you wouldn't want to have available for eternity on the web, or however long that will last, you can contact
the link that shows on the Appamada calendar page, contact coordinator. It'd be best if you can do it right afterwards, certainly by the end of the day, and you can be removed from the recording before it's posted. So I just wanted to point that out for anyone who has concerns about privacy. Those are certainly to be honored. I also want to add another kind of housekeeping thing, which is I want to say thank you for your monetary support from Appamada. Your generosity pays for the infrastructure that allows us to connect, such as through YouTube and the various other subscriptions that Appamada has. The teachings are freely offered, but there are bills to pay, and your contributions are important. Under the generosity model that Appamada has adopted, gifts to the teachers are no longer being made through a kind of a fee-for-service basis, as they were back when there was a charge announced for intensives and for classes and that sort of thing. Now, support for the teachers is made through the ongoing Appamada budget. That budget has been showing some strain recently and is right now. So if you can help Appamada by contributing, that would be great. I just want to put it that way. Before opening inquiry today, I want to talk for about 12 more minutes. And as usual for me, it will jump around a good bit, but I hope it will come together at the end. I want to start by reflecting on something that Flint said when he was in Austin in April 2022. It was just a brief mention of something that he'd heard about caring for his mudra. Flint was giving a public talk, his first in-person talk in Austin, I believe, since the beginning of the COVID pandemic. It was quite a celebration. More than 150 people in an auditorium at a classical radio station in Austin. We were gathered to celebrate the completion of the Dharma transmission process that Flint had been working on for many months with Peg Syverson and with Vicki Austin of the San Francisco Zen Center. Maybe you saw the YouTube posting of it. You may remember the beautiful wordless ceremony that Peg and Flint enacted with us that day. Each of them held the tied together ends of 2 balls of red yarn and sent those balls out into the rows of people so that each of us could hold the thread and pass it along to our neighbors, each of us blessing the thread with connection and attention. Flint and Peg reminded us that all of us were connecting back through them to their teachers and to countless teachers and sanghas for thousands of years that had handed the Dharma out into the world and into the future by holding it and living it. Later, if my memory is correct, which is not guaranteed, Flint said that the ceremony had been largely extemporized and added to the event by him and Peg that day after he had found the yarn among the skeins his mother was knitting with. It's amazing that what for me was a life-changing event could have arisen that spontaneously. There was another such moment for me in Flint's talk. As he had done in many of the previous talks he had given over the months he was working toward Dharma transmission, Flint spoke of important relationships, thanking Vicki and Peg and the many teachers who had supported his path over the decades. In particular, he talked about his late teacher, Zenke Blanche Hartman, and how she had led by her example of quiet constancy and fierceness, and how she had encouraged him to connect with the ancestors. Embodying the connections to the ancestors is an important part of the Dharma transmission, Flint said. He added that a few weeks later, Vicki Austin had asked him a question. She'd said, "What is Blanche saying to you now?" Flint said that he had replied, "She's saying, take care of your mudra." Hearing what Flint said, I assumed that what he was referring to was what's called the cosmic mudra, holding one hand cupped inside the other. I'm trying to mime it now. Held in the lap with the tips of the thumbs just not quite touching. There are many mudras, but this one is the one most referred to in Soto Zen as a way of positioning one's hands in Zazen. Other Buddhist traditions sometimes talk about mudras for other situations that can have or can convey quasi-magical powers. And that's where I first encountered reading about mudras. And I must say it awakened some resistance in me reading about them. Of course, in my mundane way of sitting, a cosmic mudra is a particularly useful aid to mindfulness. When my mind wanders while I'm sitting, it shows up right away in how my thumbs meet, or in extra tension or slackness in my hands, and that calls me back to present moment awareness. Up until I heard what Flint had said, that seemed like a good enough reason to pay attention to my mudra. It's all about attention, even in the most small-minded sort of sense. Flint did not elaborate on what that message from Blanche meant to him because of course, it was implicit in the context of his talk. At the time, that message from Blanche struck me as like, and I mean this respectfully, it struck me as kind of a ghost story, powerful for Flint, but easy for me to deflect, given my past experiences and prejudices. However, I found that it stayed with me, dare I say, even like a koan, that I kept coming back to in my mind. I was recently reading Joanne Sutherland Roshi's book, Through Forests of Every Color. She says that the two major groupings of koans are dilemma koans and mystery koans. She writes, dilemma koans show you where the walls and locked doors of your present room are. Then they offer not nicer wallpaper, but a lockpick. Mystery koans remind you of what is just beyond those walls, of what it is like to breathe freely and to see all the way to the horizon. Sutherland gives an example of what seems to fit both dilemma koans and mystery koans drawn from the life of the Buddha. She writes, when Siddhartha had nearly died of the harsh austerities he subjected himself to in his quest for enlightenment, he remembered a moment from his early childhood when, for a few moments, he had been left alone on a warm summer's day under a sheltering tree. He remembered it as a moment without the tension and striving of his current practice, a moment from which nothing was missing. A voice came into his mind, asking a quiet, overturning question. Are you afraid of this happiness? When Siddhartha could say no, he wasn't afraid, he set out on the path that would lead him to the Bodhi tree. Since last April, I have often experimented with the phrase that came to Flint in Zen-Kei Hartman's voice. Take care of your mudra. Trying to let go of my preconceptions and wondering, what is this thing with my fingers and the backs of my hands and my thighs and my discomfort and how my mind wants to take me somewhere else? And what does it have to do with my whole life? And on in that vein. When I could stay in the present moment at first, I felt something exciting. I felt that my thumbs were enacting something, in fact, kind of uncanny, the sensation that I really hadn't ever felt before, as if some sort of virtual current were passing between them. As an aside, I thought of the Casimir effect, which I'd heard about during my 20 years as a fundraiser working with and for astrophysicists. And that was fun. That was exciting. The Casimir effect arises when two plates of metal, only a few nanometers apart, are held that way, and they begin to be pushed together by virtual particles. You can look it up on the internet. So that was fun. And of course, while sitting, I turned it into a form of chasing after and grasping after that feeling. Then I got to waiting for what could come after that grasping. And gradually, however, I came to realize that this aspect of the mudra experiment was just a gateway to something bigger and more mysterious. That all sensations that registered through the senses of this body-mind, hearing birds outside, feeling the middle toes on my left foot all of a sudden, itching, seeing a flood of light through the window that I hadn't noticed before, touching my wife's shoulder in the night, watching as sounds turned into words that meant something to me. All of these were no less uncanny than that zing between my thumb tips. They weren't me, but I was them. Who was witnessing? What was being witnessed? My puzzle koan had turned into a mystery koan. Thinking about that, I was also reminded of a quote that I've heard or that I've seen from Irish poet William Butler Yeats, who wrote at some point, "There is another world, but it is in this one." I tried to find that on the web, and I found another one from a French surrealist poet, Paul Éluard, who wrote, "There is another world. It is this one." And yet another one, "There is no world, including this one." So often, when I remember Flint hearing the disembodied voice of his teacher offering an uncanny, mundane, overturning instruction, I'm grateful. Dogen wrote, "Buddhas and ancestors of old are as we. We in the future shall be the Buddhas and ancestors. Revering Buddhas and ancestors, we are one Buddha and one ancestor." Right now, does any part of you yearn to breathe free and extend all the way to the horizon? Is a part of you afraid of some happiness, wishing for nicer wallpaper in a locked room? Can you meet and take care of those parts with loving attention as you would a simple, special way of holding your hands during meditation? Please now let those yearnings and those questions speak through you in questions and reflections on the path. Thank you. Welcome, Sheila Flame. Sheila, you're still muted. Good.
All I can say, I think, is wow. It's difficult to speak after that. Thank you for it, Joel. This world, no world, another world, uncanny words as visual images. Thank you so much for it. In this world, I guess I want to report on myself and Becky Kane. Becky Kane. Becky first, she's missing today because she had x-rays and ultrasounds appointments. And I'm glad to be here despite a fall last night, which was not a stroke, but losing my balance. And that's kind of uncanny, figurative too. And have an appointment with the doctor now. And I'm okay. And I'm grateful. And wow. Wow. Thank you, Joel. And Peg and everybody else. Thank you.
Sheila, thanks for saying that about Becky, and thanks for letting us know you're okay. And your wonderful words. It's so wonderful to be connected with so many people that have such depth in their practice.
I wish I could have been there for that yarning ball. That's just wonderful.
You can see what happens on the YouTube video. It's quite extraordinary.
Great. That'd be great. Thank you. There's somebody.
Eileen, hi.
Hi, Joel. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great.
Um, I want to thank you for your offering. It was just perfect for me today. Here at Open Door, we have been trying to explore a little bit the ceremony of Zazen, which is kind of what you're talking about today. And I have found myself in that locked room looking for better wallpaper. And so I'm so grateful for you to bring up that metaphor. Um, there is such great comfort in walking this path together. And that was exactly what I needed to do, is to know that how you feel is today, what you're describing today is how I feel, and I'm not alone. I'm not uh, in the delusion of the separate self coming here today. And so I want to thank you very much for your offering.
Thank you, Eileen. I'm just reminded of all the times Peg and Flint have quoted other teachers saying the path to awakening is through paying attention to your deflections and your resistance and and all the ways you don't like to pay attention. And I hoped by pointing to that repeatedly in what I had to share today that could also be like a door,
Yes, connection and attention, connection and attention.
just what you're saying, Eileen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joel.
Francis, welcome.
Here we go. Pay attention to your mudra. That is so simple and so beautiful, and kind of all we need. I don't know if that just that was kind of what stayed with me today. I like something that gives me something tangible and seems doable. Not really very doable in the practice, but something to focus on. That was very nice presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. I have not gone back and watched the video, so I may be misquoting Flint, what he said. I hope not, but it is possible. What I heard was not just pay attention to your mudra, which is what I enact many times, but also take care that it has the sense of appamada in it. Care, attention, loving attention, just as Eileen was saying before. And yeah, that's everything.
And to come back to not just do during our sitting or meditation time, but to remember to take care of it and come back to it throughout our day.
Yeah.
Very tangible.
It is this world. There is another world, and it's this one.
Or maybe it is just that other world.
Yeah, or maybe that other world. Or, yeah, I've already lost track. Thank you.
Or no world.
Or no world.
Thank you.
Maria, I know you can unmute yourself.
Here we go. And I can lower my own hand. Hi, Joel. Yeah, I loved that. I loved all the things that you were saying, and I too took away the same thing from that talk, the yarn and how we're all connected. And like Francis just said, take care of your mudra. That's all we need. Because I was just thinking, it's the little things for me that I know I'm kind of embodying the teachings at certain times, and other times I'm not. And it's when I take my glasses off. It's the biggest thing for me is when I take my glasses off really slowly. I feel so connected. It's like, I'm with everybody, all the teachings, anyone that's ever been my teacher, every person here. It's like, I'm here. I'm right here. But then the other thing is when I kind of pull them off and catch my ear, it's like, what world was I in? where was I right then? I wasn't here. And that kind of tells me, it's those little things that tell me, you know, that how I put them on and how I take them off. Am I here? Am I distracted? Where am I at? And that's the mood. It's another mudra, isn't it? It's taking care of how we put our glasses on and off. And it's a real powerful thing for me. It sounds so simple, but every time I do it slowly, it's like, there I am. There I am. You know, and every time I do it fast, it's like a reminder to come back from whatever world I've created, whatever anxieties I'm making up. I'm really good at anxiety. I practice it a lot, so I'm very expert at it, as you know, as I've said before. So it's kind of when I'm doing these things slowly, it's like, and I've slowed down and I've caught up with the moment right now. And yeah, so it's also how we open the fridge, you know, how we open the car door, shut the front door, you know, how we pour the tea. It's all those little things that are the mudras in the world that can bring us. And even if we're doing it quickly and we catch ourselves, we can slow right down. And that's kind of what I do. And it's that thread. That's when I feel the thread. You know, when I've slowed right down, I've done something, it's like, we're all connected and all the teachings are moving through me. And that's because everybody here and everywhere that I've been that's helping me to do that is accompanying me, because we don't do it alone, do we? We have these, we're all interconnected. And by doing that, that means I'm different in the world with somebody else or something else. And it all gets passed on, you know, and just the taking the glasses on and off. But anyway, that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Marie, and I really appreciate the turn that you made in that, from a kind of interior focused gesture to connection outward to other people, and how your mindfulness impacts others, and recognizing that that's always true, and how we can, by paying attention to that, help this world we live in.
And save the world from ourselves.
Exactly.
as we say. And cause less suffering, which is what it's all about, isn't it? We're all just trying to cause less suffering and not make things worse, just not making things worse. And we can do that by simple acts of just slowing down.
Thank you so much for that reminder. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joel.
Chris Schulman, welcome.
Thank you, Maria. I'm coming at my practice from a new angle today. I'm in a small Zen study group that's been meeting for going on 20 years. We have two members who are relatively new to the group, about 5 years. And we had conversations recently that helped me to understand that there's a whole body of Zen teaching and understanding that that our two new members have not absorbed as much as the rest of us, because we've been at this practice longer. And the two new members, I don't know how much they've connected with Appamada or other sanghas. And so anyway, I'm coming today from the perspective of a teacher who's trying to understand what others need. And of course, teaching means what I've absorbed through my study and the experiences I've been through. And the tending to the mudra is a wonderful one, because it so eloquently expresses that acute awareness of what is in the moment. And Maria, I loved what you said too about taking off your glasses. I hadn't thought about the physical aspects of that, but the world changes when I take off my glasses. I'm pretty nearsighted and everything goes soft. And to get proper focus, I have to get, what is that, about 4 inches? 3-4 inches. That's how close I have to get to see things in focus. And that's another metaphor. So Joel, thank you for your sharing, and thank you for, see, there were several of you who added to that.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for being in a group that's met that long and for welcoming newcomers and doing what you can.
That's remarkable. It's
Yeah.
been great for everyone.
Hi, Joel. Thank you for your words. I think several of us had wow moments today. And my wow moment, and the one that I wrote down in all caps, was, no, I'm not afraid of this happiness, of my happiness. And in thinking about it in the context of a mudra, and you described the almost astrophysical zing that one can achieve during zazen, and then the possibility that you can come to cling to that and seek it. And I think the same is true for happiness, perhaps, that clinging to the idea that you're not afraid of your happiness could distract you from life itself. Happiness is not a goal in and of itself, nor is the feeling that you can get in zazen from your mudra. Anyway, I'm not sure that's expressing exactly what I meant, but that was my wow realization from today. And I thank you very much for your words.
Thank you, Marla, for pointing to that aspect of it. It's so important. I will say, for me, I'd rather stay in the lock room and look at the wallpaper kind of guy, and be afraid of happiness. So that was I've never heard that particular aspect of the story before. I've read other versions of the Buddha remembering that moment of happiness, but not that a voice came to him with that question until I read it in this book by Zen Sutherland. So I know that that just points to the unfathomable depths of reading I still have to do about Buddhism, and learning I still have to do about Buddhism. But both of those things, deflecting, staying in the room, grasping after the pleasant experiences, all of those are both mistakes and doorways into opening. They can be all of that. Thank you, Marla. I see Liz and CJ have raised a hand. Welcome.
CJ here. Hi, Joel. Good to meet with you here.
Thank you so much.
At first, don't cling to the zing is what I hear you and Marla saying. Don't cling to the zing. This recounting of Flint's kind of receiving from Blanche this take care of your mudra. When I heard you, in recounting that, toward the end at one point, of course, you referred to that as Blanche's disembodied voice, which of course is not in any way incorrect. And yet, when I heard that, it struck me with some immediacy that it was also a fully embodied voice, in the sense of it, I'm sure, quite sure, being fully embodied in Flint's body, but also kind of boundlessly embodied, not limited just to, like, Blanche's body, but embodied. So I just wanted to offer that to you as we're kind of meeting in this boundlessly embodied way too.
Thank you, CJ. Yeah, I did not mean that disrespectfully, and you point to something that is really important that I hope my words did not obscure. That this was my experience I was describing, and nothing to do with what Flint was describing exactly, or maybe something to do with it, but certainly a very incomplete map onto what Flint was describing. Which had this aspect of boundlessness to it.
Yeah, and didn't obscure in any way. In fact, it was so helpful to me to hear it that way.
Yeah.
Somehow this both disembodied and embodied.
Yeah. And I will say also on what you said at the beginning, don't cling to the zing. That's great. I want to write that down. But also the zing is there. There it is, And
the cling too.
Yeah.
The cling too.
And the cling is there. Yeah. And those are also parts of life.
Thanks so much.
I want to say that in the past, if I've been attending inquiry and someone else was leading, if people were not coming forward constantly, it filled me with anxiety. But not today. I want to say I feel a wonderful companionableness right now. I'm so lucky to be with you. Sheila Fling, welcome again.
If I may just ask, you suggested we look up the Casimir effect in astrophysics, and I would like to know how to spell Casimir.
C like Charles, A, S like Sam, I, M like Mary, I, R. Casimir. Yeah.
Thank you. That may open other doors or make other connections.
Be sure and share what you find with me. I would love to hear it.
Okay, thank you, Joel. That's a connection.
So we are coming up to the end of our time together. Let's join in saying the practice principles. And as we say them, please pick someone in another window and focus your attention on that other person as well as yourself. Expand the boundary of what you're saying to at least one other person. Okay? We'll say it 3 times together. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher. Being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher. Being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher. Being just this moment, compassion's way.
Thank you so much, Joel. Thank you. I think there's so much moving around in all of us. I know there is in me right now. So thank you so much for that. And Joel talked about offering Dana at the beginning of the talk, so I won't go into it. But if you the place to go to offer is apamada.org/contribute, and you'll see a place to make offerings there, and you can put in a box what your offering's for if you want it to go to something or someone specific. So thank you all so much. And if you'd like to continue for a further 30 minutes, then please do stay right where you are. Put yourself into gallery view and I shall join you. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Maria. Folks, I'm about to go and get a COVID booster shot. So please send me your support so that I don't come down with the flu-like symptoms that I usually get after the COVID booster shot. Thank you.
I was sending you lots of meta, Joel. Oh, here we go. It says, and I shall stop the recording.